Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and stay tuned by clicking the bell icon. Thomas confronts Liam about hope. The bold and the beautiful recap for Monday. At Spencer, Thomas strode in. "Hear me out," he said to Liam. Backing away, Liam said he didn't care about whatever Thomas had to say. Thomas stated that it was about hope. Liam asked Thomas to go. Thomas assumed Liam had seen what had gone on in Rome. Liam acknowledged that he'd seen his wife kissing the man who'd been happy to let them grieve their daughter for life. Thomas said that Liam couldn't forgive Thomas, but Liam could forgive Hope. Thomas claimed that she deserved it, and Liam had to find forgiveness. Thomas guessed Liam didn't like him. Liam said convincing him that his daughter was dead had been enough, and seeing Thomas make out with Liam's wife hadn't helped. Thomas claimed that they both cared about Hope, who loved Liam. Liam asserted that Thomas should not be the one pitching Hope to Liam. Thomas said he didn't want to be, but he was doing it because Hope loved Liam and wanted him back. Liam asserted that it wasn't Thomas' place to speak to Liam, and Liam's conversations with Hope were none of Thomas' business. Liam sighed and admitted that Thomas was right. Hope still loved Liam, and Liam still loved her. Thomas said Liam would thereby be able to forgive her. "I didn't say that," Liam replied. Thomas said Hope had messed up once, and Liam was out. Thomas reminded Liam that he'd had a pregnancy scare with Steffi, but Liam was done when Hope messed up just once. Liam uttered that Hope had known there had been only one thing, and that thing had been Thomas. She knew it, she chose it. "Now here we are," Liam concluded. Thomas called Liam a fool because he had a wonderful woman who wanted to repair their family. "Door handle sticks. Use the one on the right," Liam instructed. Thomas said there weren't many things in life that were certain, but one was that Liam would regret it. In the design office, Hope was telling Brooke that Liam wouldn't give their marriage a second chance. Hope said Liam knew how much she loved their family, but he wouldn't be able to get past what had happened with Thomas. Brooke didn't get it. She said Liam was kind and forgiving, and it wasn't like he hadn't hurt Hope in the past. Brooke wondered if all Liam knew about was the one kiss. Hope replied that given Liam's resistance to a kiss, she doubted he was ready to hear that she and Thomas had been together. Hope said if Liam couldn't forgive a kiss, then he wouldn't forgive her for the rest of it. Sorry about it, Brooke could see how much Hope was hurting. Hope said she was also angry with herself. She felt she'd brought it upon herself, and it might be at the expense of her family. "I didn't think it through," Hope yelled. Brooke replied that Hope had made a mistake, which everyone did at some point, and Hope was taking responsibility and moving on. Brooke asked what more Hope could do. Brooke said Hope's family was there for Hope to lean on. Hope said she appreciated it, but didn't think she deserved it. Brooke stated that there was nothing Hope could do to make her undeserving of Brooke's love. "But don't you dare go back to Thomas," Brooke added, giving Hope a stern look. Hope said she'd heard Thomas too, and she hadn't even heard from him. Brooke was sure Thomas would find an opportunity. Hope insisted that Thomas hadn't done anything wrong. She said it was hard to believe that she'd had feelings for Thomas, but I did. She added that Thomas had promised to step aside because he loved her. Brooke recalled that Thomas' love had caused people a great deal of pain, including Hope. Later, Hope was working alone when she sensed someone there. She looked up and saw Thomas in the doorway. He said he hadn't wanted to distract her. She replied that she could use the distraction. "I'm sorry," Thomas said. She asked why, and he revealed that he'd seen Liam. Hopping out of her seat, Hope asked why. Thomas said he'd wanted to confront Liam about the reality that Hope wanted to put her life back together and was willing to own her mistake. Thomas said it was ridiculous that Liam couldn't see the reality and was a bigger fool than Thomas had thought. Claiming he hadn't wanted to cause trouble, Thomas said he'd wanted to convince Liam that Hope actually was trying to put her family back together. Thomas replied that Liam had made it clear that he wouldn't forgive. It didn't make sense to Thomas that Liam was putting her through that pain. It hurt Thomas, who believed Hope was really trying. Thomas said Hope had made one mistake, and it wasn't like Liam knew everything else that had happened between them. Hope figured that Thomas hadn't told Liam. Thomas replied that it was just his and Hope's, and Liam didn't get to be a part of it. Thomas stated that he cared about Hope, and what he saw in front of him was beauty and grace. He said he loved her so much. She looked away. Thomas said he'd made mistakes, but this is like a true love. Their first kiss in Rome had lit a fire within him, and all he wanted to do was be hers. He wanted to create for her, to love her, and to make love to her. He said it was their time. "Let's not throw it away," he uttered and kissed her. Hope leaned into the kiss, but after a few moments, she stopped it. In Eric's office, Steffi was back at work and talking to Ridge. Steffi was having a hard time being away from Finn, but she appreciated that Eric had opened up his home. Ridge said Eric loved having her and the kids there, but Ridge wasn't sure how Eric felt about Ridge. Ridge revealed that he'd offended Eric. Steffi asked how, and Ridge said he'd thrown out Eric's stapler. Steffi replied with a perplexed expression. Later, Ridge had expounded on the situation with Eric, including that Eric didn't want anyone, not even Steffi, using Eric's office. Steffi wondered what it was stemming from. Ridge said she shouldn't worry. Eric didn't want to rest on his laurels, but they'd figure it out like always. Ridge changed the subject to Thomas and expressed his interest in where Thomas stood with Hope. Steffi replied that she didn't know what was going on, but she was rooting for Hope and Liam and hoped they'd be able to put the whole matter behind them. Ridge expressed his worry about Thomas, saying they knew what happened whenever Thomas got obsessed with Hope. Ridge didn't want Thomas back there again. Steffi agreed that it wouldn't be good and said she was proud of Thomas' progress. Ridge insisted that Thomas couldn't backslide. Steffi said they just needed Hope and Liam to reconcile, but Steffi didn't know if it would happen. Brooke arrived, saying it was good Steffi and Ridge were both there. Brooke revealed that Hope had asked Liam for forgiveness, but he'd said no. Brooke was worried about Hope, who was in an extremely vulnerable place. At Eric's house, Eric was trying to sketch, but he winced in pain, shaking his hand. Archie arrived, and sensing something was off, he noted that Eric seemed upset. Eric replied that it was nothing he couldn't handle, but Archie pressed. "It's about your father?" Eric replied. Excited, Eric boasted about his inspiration for a new collection. Archie said it was awesome, but Eric replied that Ridge thought Eric's time should be spent playing golf or pickleball. Later, Archie was surprised to hear that Ridge wanted Eric to retire. Eric replied that Ridge wanted his father to fade into that good night, but Eric wouldn't do that. Eric, who never backed away from a challenge, picked up his sketchpad and said it would be the biggest collection and challenge of his life. "I'm going to do this," he affirmed, "and you're going to help me." Archie was flattered but said Eric didn't need Archie, insisting that he did. Eric picked up a pencil. He said he couldn't hold it for very long. It was painful, and his hand would shake. He'd been diagnosed with arthritis. Eric revealed that he'd asked for Ridge's help without saying why, but Ridge had turned Eric down, saying Ridge was too busy running my business. Refusing to go out to pasture, Eric exclaimed that it would be his best collection. "I want you to help me." "Will you do that?" Eric asked. If you liked the video, don't forget to like, comment, and share.